Now it is time for another edition of the Trimet General Liar Report, also known as the Trimet General Manager's Report. Now, as we all know, those of us that have watched these meetings, these are all carefully scripted cheerleading meetings. You know, it's always about how great we're doing and how wonderful we are, and everything is wonderful. That's all you ever see at a board meeting, is how wonderful we are. You don't see anything negative or anything that would make them look bad. There's never anything that comes out of the management of Trimet that would make them look bad. The only thing that you can see in way of negative information is from testimonies of riders and people that have been harmed, would be the word, by Trimet. Nobody shows up to the board meeting unless they've been harmed by Trimet, and lots of people have been harmed by Trimet, but they don't have the time to attend these board meetings. So we'll watch another edition of this. Let's hear what he's got to say, and then I'm going to comment. Let's listen to Neil.
Which is the General Manager Report. First-year General Manager comments, Mr. McFarland?
Mr. Board President, members of the board, and our Oregon City audience, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present a few comments. I also want to just, again, offer my thanks to our representatives from Clackamas County, I think most of which have moved on by now, but nonetheless, I really do appreciate them coming out to meet us. I did want to just give you a little bit of an overview of our service in Clackamas County, and oftentimes we don't segment our service as we look at it, since we're so fluid across all of these boundaries, and that's, again, one of the key advantages of Trimet service. But we do...
Really, you got to give him credit, okay? The guy is good, okay? McFarland is good at what he's doing. Notice, I mean, that presentation of his is so it's so perfect in some ways. I mean, the way he talks, his style of being complimentary, thank you for showing up, and everything is so fluid. I mean, really, the guy is good. I'll give him credit for that. When he's good, he's good. I know it's all bullshit, but it's good bullshit. I mean, people buy it.
Provide a lot of service every day to thousands and thousands of people here in Clackamas County. And let me give you just a few statistics. First, our service is provided by the West Commuter Rail, which serves at edge of Clackamas County, the Max Green Line, and we have 23 bus lines in the county, including 3 of them at a frequent service level. Last year, we had, in our view, 10.6 million boardings on the system in Clackamas County. That's people stepping across.
Aren't I right? I mean, isn't it good? He's good. I mean, you look at that, you hear that, and, you know, we're doing all these great things for Clackamas County. Clackamas County doesn't want anything to do with Trimet. It's a reality. Of course, they'll never acknowledge that, you know. They won't ever say that, but... You know, we're having a 25 trillion boarding rides, and we've got the Great West and this and that. I mean, all of the words that he's using are perfectly scripted. You know, from my point of view, somebody who watches government propaganda, really, you're watching some of the best propagandists ever. These Trimet people are good at this. They really are amazing.
Across the threshold of the bus. In addition, we serve over 1,400 Lyft customers here on a regular basis in Clackamas County, and that equated to about 145,000 Lyft trips on an annual basis. And again, those are essential lifeline trips, as Dr. Bethel reported on, and again, I think the service is of a high quality. And you know, we have a lot of Clackamas County residents as our employees as well. Our last count, 508 of our employees are actually residents of Clackamas County.
I mean, look at that. I mean, this man is prepared. You know, that is good stuff, man. He's got all that ready to go. I've got 508 of our employees are from Clackamas County. What are you going to do, vote against us when 508 people that live in this county work here?
And you heard mention earlier of the Portland-Milwaukee construction. There are actually 71 Clackamas County firms involved in our construction activities and doing work on the project. Total value of those contracts is about $40 million. and that results in the employment of about 662 Clackamas County residents so far. So that we have a big presence in the county, and obviously that presence will grow as we prepare for the opening of the Orange Line in September of 2015. And again, preparations for that are beginning, and as you know, that's a major emphasis of our budget next year, is beginning to get ready for that September of 15 opening. Just to note a couple of additional updates related to the response to the Secretary of State's audit. Dr. Bethel reported on those that have under the purview of the Accountability Committee. But I'd also just wanted to note that we've been...
Oh God, man, it's great. This is great stuff, man. Under the purview of the Accountability Committee. Well, we'll bring up the Secretary of State's audit right about now. You know, the Secretary of State audit, who is right next door to the governor, who by the way, the governor happens to run Trimet, even though nobody ever talks about it. It's all his responsibility. Secretary of State's audit, we'll bring that up now. And you know where he's going with that, of course, of employee benefits. The employee benefits! You know, the Secretary of State's audit, as we all know, was a whitewash job. And they didn't tackle anything other than what we were afraid they were going to tackle. You know, you have a state agency looking at a state agency. It's like when the ODOT people came in, you know. You're not going to get a legitimate audit from people that are employed by the same people. Okay, they cover for each other. You need a complete, unconnected organization to do an effective audit.
Made some great progress in setting up continuous improvement teams, as we call them, where we actually are involving our frontline employees in some of the decision-making that's necessary as we advance the project. And again, the audit suggested that we can do better on that, and we're in the process of trying to do better on that. And we do have committees associated with both how to better communicate with our frontline employees and asking them that question.
Well, it's rather hard to have an open dialogue with people that you're actively trying to destroy. I guess the active employees really are not being as usually destroyed as the retirees, and a lot of these employees don't track on any of this stuff. They're not connected to it like we are. They're not following it. They don't even know what's going on, a lot of these employees. But one of these days they're going to be retirees, and they're going to find out, you know, what they did to us. I'm a retiree. What he's doing to me, they'll do to them. And it's hard to have an open dialogue when your company is actively trying to screw you over. And Trimet is not being good to its employees. I don't care what he's saying. I hear lots of feedback. Lots of drivers are just really having a bad time there. The management's brutal right now. I don't know how anybody can work there, really. You know, it's a tough environment.
The design, particularly of our operator workstation, if you will, on the new buses to make sure that the ergonomics of that are as friendly as they can be. We have a review of worker safety going on in our rail rights-of-way, which is involving our employees as well. We have a work group on operator restrooms that our frontline employees are participating in. We have a major revision of our rail rule book, which is the, if you will, the list of do's and don'ts associated with operating our rail vehicles. And again, that's involving frontline employees and our operators in particular in a very integrated way. Also implementing our new dispatch system. And we have a number of other ongoing transportation safety programs as well. So this is just the start of, I think, what we need to do to better involve our frontline workforce in really making us a better service provider and a more efficient provider over time. I'd also just like to note we have some additional work going on with the ATU outside of the normal negotiations on the overdue contract, and that includes scheduling and hours of service as well as operator safety. So we're pleased to be working with the ATU on those topics. I also just wanted to note to you that our quarterly personnel action report is in your packet. Very little activity this month from the standpoint of non-union employees, particularly management employees. One temporary bump for unique services related to the Columbia River Crossing project. That was interim and obviously not continuing as the project doesn't continue. Also noted the number of step raises for union employees associated with implementing of our contract. So if there are any questions about that, certainly we're happy to handle, but pretty quiet report this last quarter.
Well, there you have it, another general manager's report. And as I was saying earlier, it's all positive. Everything's great. We're working with our employees and committees. We're working with the ATU and safety, and everybody's happy. And life is wonderful at Trimet. And I'm not sure what he was getting at with the CRC step raises. It's kind of, there was something there that he didn't want to talk about right at the end. So everything's wonderful at Trimet if you listen to the general manager's report. And we already know that none of these reports are anything but a propaganda event. Everything they do is, how do we look good? And one way you look good is to never acknowledge anything bad, right? Never bring it up. So what happened this month that he didn't bother to bring up? And it's huge. It's huge. First of all, he barely touched on the death of the CRC. I mean, they had all these plans. That was the Vancouver agreement with CTRAN, where Trimet was going to take over eminent domain from the state of Washington, go in there and take over Washington state properties. They had this agreement that Vancouver signed giving them the right, and somehow Vancouver was going to pay Trimet millions of dollars if Washington reneged on this deal. It was the strangest thing you ever heard. Well, with the death of the CRC, that's dead too, because that was hooked to the CRC. He didn't talk about that, and then even more important than that, he didn't talk about the Tigard vote. And the Tigard vote was huge, and he didn't bring it up. And all I can say is, as I've been saying all along, you get no factual information from Trimet management. Zero. Every single piece of news that comes out of there, every single thing they talk about is propagandized to make them look good. And why don't people see that? Why am I... They treat me like I'm a raving lunatic, okay? The public, you know? Oh, that's just Al. Everything is negative with Al. Negative. Not everything is negative, but I understand when I'm being played and when I'm being propagandized. And this organization here, there's nothing positive that's worth listening to coming out of them, because they're not going to tell you anything that's accurate. It's all going to be filtered crap